Thanks. Good evening. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I've been running around like a blue ass fly. Welcome to Mr. Wayne, and welcome to Mrs. or Ms. or Ms. or Miss or Shithead, Kerry Greenaway, who was one of the original co-hosts of this show and has been friends with me almost as long as I've been friends with Wayne down there. So, welcome back to this must be a bit of a blast from the past for you. Welcome back to the Dark Mirror Radio Show.
It feels weird not doing the intro myself.
Yeah, I bet it does, really. Oh, God, yeah, such a lot's happened. I kept saying I was going to get you on the show, and I didn't. But, yeah, I think it'd be nice to have you back on now and again, see what you think about. Oh, first things first, what have you been doing with yourself? Keep it clean. Actually, no, it's up to 9. You can swear.
I literally have just been concentrating on Spirit and Soul Island, like the crystal business, and I opened up a teaching zone, the academy, and I'm concentrating. I'm building a website at the moment, so I'm doing a lot of bones work in regards to getting it running as a business now, rather than just like a hobby. So yes, I've been doing that really quite a long time now. Step back from the paranormal for a bit. I think sometimes you need to. And I'm literally just starting to revisit, shall we say, my paranormal roots.
And what do you think now since you've come back revisiting?
It hasn't changed at all, has it?
It's same shit, different day.
It's like, I just can't believe it sometimes. I find it really difficult to understand. Right, I understand it's okay to be skeptical. And I understand that there's a level
Are we talking about recent events?
No, I'm not. I'm talking in general. Because I see it as a general thing. I don't see it as one person. At the moment, it's focused on one person. But I've come across this time and time again through my journey through the paranormal. And that's, yes, it's okay to be skeptical and express those views. That's knowledge, that's learning, that's information. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is trying to kind of like prove if there's life after life. Yeah. Right. So you have to be able to be critical thinking and discount if there's an alternative possibility.
I think to be a paranormal investigator, it doesn't matter which bit of the paranormal you're in, like, with myself, UFOs, cryptozoology, and this, that, and the other. You have to have that bit that's ready to go, well, no, that's crap. And you have to be able to disprove. And I've always found, and I've always said to you, like, disprove away whatever's left. That's got to be what's going on.
The thing is, like, when you look at cases or when you talk to people, and I've been really blessed over the years podcasting and investigating, that I've investigated with a lot of people and I've talked to a lot of people. And there is a very distinct balance between personal experience, spiritual belief practice, your belief systems, the psychology of things that are going on at the time, and the right to be skeptical as well. Yeah. So I do think that and I've said this for an awful long time. I think I was saying this back in the Parasearch days. There needs to be a way to bridge that gap. And the only way to do that is by effective communication and to stop this he said, she said, you're right, I'm wrong, blah, blah, blah. Be open to learning. And I think there's a huge learning curve, isn't there, in the paranormal? Think about when you first started in the paranormal.
I know. We've known each other for years. She hasn't fucking stopped, has she? Carry on. And hiya, Taylor. Taylor's watching this as well.
Hi, darling. So I think, like, there's a huge learning curve. And when you go out investigating with a small team, it's very different from when you go on a public investigation. Or there's so many variants, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, you know, so for one person or a group of people or whoever it is at that particular time, because it's been consistent, all right, it's this person at the moment. But as I say, over the years, people have come and gone, shall we say. And we've seen it. And this is another one that will disappear back out again somewhere, you know. But at the end of the day, it's about how you put your, you know, the information across. If you do know something, then yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not discuss it? But discuss it in effective communication rather than you're stupid, I don't agree with you.
No, totally.
You know, educate.
Well, oh, it's the back of a chair can see swinging about. I thought there was a cat or something. What do you make of that, Wayne? Because you've done investigations with all of this before.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is you throughout the years while you're investigating, you meet all kinds of people from all walks of life, all have different beliefs, all have different opinions. And the majority of the time, those opinions and beliefs are accepted. We don't stand there and jeer them in the face and say, oh, you're an idiot, blah, 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 this, that, the other, and put them down because of their beliefs or their experiences. You know, the whole idea is that we are trying, like Kerry says, about the proof of life after life. That's what we're all doing. We're all in the same boat, whether we're skeptics or whether we're believers. We're all looking for the same answer. So by being nasty towards each other is just a total waste of time because we are all asking the same questions and all looking for the same answers.
But it does work both ways.
Yeah,
it works both ways.
It does. But when you get people that are doing it for ulterior motives, shall I say, then it's completely different.
Of course it is.
And I think, you know, pushing aside recent events, but in the past, go a few years back, there's always one person going to be there saying, I'm better than you guys. I've done more than you in the last so many years than you've done in your life. And we're just like, no, it's not about that. You've just been in the right place at the right time. You've managed to get this and that person hasn't, but that person's not bothered. That person's just happy plodding along. So by standing there throwing it in their face, it's not going to make any difference.
I tell you what, I was going to, sorry, you carry on.
But with me, I'm just happy plodding along as I am. I'm not interested in fame, fortune, money or whatever. I'm just doing what I'm doing and I enjoy doing it. And that's why I do it, because I enjoy it.
I know.
Yeah, but I think if you overlaid this situation on any hobby or small community, you'd find the same problems. There'd always be somebody who's local and, you know, you're doing it wrong, I'm doing it right. You know, I just think it's natural human behavior. The problem is we have the internet.
Yeah.
But the internet's a massively amazing tool at our fingertips.
Yeah.
It's how we connect to each other. Do you know what I mean? Through, you know, my paranormal journey has been very much through this avenue. You know what I mean? And the research you do as well on the backside of it. You know, it's all internet based. Few people go to archives and do research that way. So it's the medium it's being put into. It is part of it. And you think it's brutal over here. Gosh, you should see some things that go off on over TikTok. I mean, it's horrific.
Oh, yeah. TikTok is a very fun place to be. Hiya, Josh. Josh. Josh.
Nice to meet you.
Over the pond correspondent. So Kerry used to do the show. We used to do the show together. Christ, years and years and years and years and years ago.
It's not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've had, and we were still writing on tablets, you know. So with steelers, you know. But yeah. So we're just talking about everything and catching up and what's been going on lately and stuff like that. So
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, you were saying.
Well, I don't know. Where do you want me to go from here? because I don't really want to focus on that side, because I think that
No.
paranormal field is an amazing field, and I love doing it, and I love researching it, and I love talking to other people about their experiences, and I like seeing how other people work, and that's always what drew me in to the paranormal, you know, and having personal experiences as well. It does draw you in, and it is a great place to be. The amount of evenings, even if I've not been investigating, we've been researching, and the deep dives you go on certain subjects, you find out about all sorts of things, not just paranormal. So it's incredible. The information, you know, I don't know, most people, I think, do this. They, you know, like you, Wayne, you'll go and write a story that's linked to the paranormal.
Yeah.
Josh, I'm sorry, I don't know what you do, but I'm sure that you do other things in the paranormal.
Mainly ufology and conspiracy theories and stuff, and
Bored.
Yeah.
I actually used to be a paranormal investigator too, Mark.
But look at the holes you go down in conspiracy.
That's how I got
theory.
started.
same.
But just look at the holes you go down when you're looking at conspiracy theory. It takes you in so many different avenues.
Well, that's what my show is actually called. Lost through the rabbit hole.
I love doing research, and exactly what you've just said. Well, you know, I've always liked doing the research, but it's when and you guys will all agree, when you start doing the research properly and you go into it and it goes, and then you go over there and you go, and it goes all over the bloody place. And like, I used to do Kerry's Heading, because I'd always find a link to aliens for every single show that we did. And that face would happen every time. Every time she'd be there on air, and I'd just find the link, and I'd keep it quiet, and then when she'd bring it out, I'd go, aliens, and you'd see the shit face, and there it was.
Every Friday you'd find an alien link. I'd be trying to go off in the mystical, wonderful way that I go off in, and he would always find an alien link. And then every week he'd be saying to me, can we do, like, I don't know, as particular topics, do ufology or cryptozoology or something like that? And I'd be like, well, yeah, but and I would go down a very specific route on that one, and he would always bring the link in. Do I think there's a link between paranormal, crypto, and aliens? Thanks. I wouldn't discount it. I have had experiences. This is the weird thing, right? Because I'm not really a ufology, cryptozoology girl. And you're certainly not going to find me in the depths of the Amazonian jungle trying to find a crypto. Not me, right? And I don't kind of get it. But working in the way that I've worked spiritually, there are some really strange things that occur when you're working up on the ether or on the astrals that you go, it's really reminiscent of what would be expected in that realm, if that makes sense. Like, I was working with a Lemurian crystal, right? And I was doing a really deep meditation with it. And it's a form of crystal that's supposed to be coding linked to it from Atlantis. So it's supposed to store hidden information. If it's got a record keeper on it, which is like a little triangle, then you can kind of click into it to access that information. So that's what effectively I was doing on this particular occasion. And I saw a grey alien in that meditation. I freaked out, because I'm like, I don't do aliens. No. They scare the life out of me. No. And I got rid of it. I passed it on to another crystal worker, and I said, I can't work with that, because it was too alienish for me. And I work with elementals and idolatries and gods and goddesses, and I work with the lords of the north, south, east, and west, and I just didn't want to work with this alien.
Have you ever thought? I mean, you've seen over the years what we've been doing. Hello, she's back again. Have you ever thought, like, some of these dimensional beings could actually be aliens, or some of the things that you see when you're doing this meditation and that? Do you think they could be dimensional beings that are akin to that sort of thing?
I think there are links that flow through, even in a spiritual way. I think, when you start looking at astrology, and when you start going further out into the cosmos, it becomes very linked into other species, you know, of things. And so, yeah, I do think now more than I used to when we did the show. I think more and more open to the possibility now. But they still scare the crap out of me. They still, the thought of it, that some spaceship can travel that far into my atmosphere and abduct me without my knowledge or permission, none of this niceties about it. They just do what they need to do and then dump you back, wipe your memory, and continually do it over the years. Or finding some strange object in your body that you have no idea what it is, and the doctors don't know what it is or where it's come from.
Generally, when people use that excuse, it's, oh, I fell on it.
But, you know, it's like you go, even when you, like, I watched Skinwalker Ranch, you know, like the latest Skinwalker Ranch, because like everyone's watching it. I thought I'll give it a little watch. And I loved that. And they still experience things they didn't expect to experience. Even though they were trying to explain that. And I just thought that was amazing. I just thought that was a really good way of looking at it.
Have you two got any questions or anything you want to say? Because I'm, you know, it's open to everybody. I'm just like sat back here thinking, oh, you've changed. You've changed so much.
Maybe I've just opened a new doorway.
You never really used to be open to it, did you? You were always like, no, aliens, scare me. No,
I think, and this actually leads me back, right? I wanted to talk about this because when we work, in whatever way we work, whatever way we research it, a lot of it is joining dots, isn't it?
Sorry. That's your friend. That's Emily.
I'm going to kill her later. Don't worry. I'm going to kill her later. She's in the dark mirror Friday night show, like she's stepped back in time. Right. So when you research something, you're following leads, and you kind of sometimes make the mistake of joining dots where there are no dots. And we forget how it would actually play out. How effective would it be? So when I hear about conspiracy theories or aliens, sometimes it just doesn't add up to me how that could actually play out in the physical, you know, like like when you think like they talk about secret meetings with the government in America and, you know, in the Ronald Reagan years and stuff like that, or even down to the moon landing. Yes, I think we landed on the moon, but I also think we had a backup plan. Do you see what I mean? And that overlays. And that's where it gets murky, because it's not one and it's not the other. There's a lot of grey in there. And I think sometimes on whatever level you work, there is a lot we don't know. So we jump to assumptions sometimes.
You're cool, Gemma, don't worry. It's all right. I just saw this message because I keep an eye on all the messages as well. They say, we no longer closest friends in Milky Way. Yes, of course we are, you silly bugger. Well,
who is it? Because he's just come up as Facebook user.
Right?
Gemma. It's Gemma. Gemma Lee.
Drury.
Of course we are, Gemma. What are you on about?
Open up
So
profile.
Do you ever work with anything like Labradorite appetite? Not as in hungry. Prehnite and Moonstone, Scholasite.
Skullsite. Yes, of course. I work with many different crystals.
Yeah, because I had read somewhere that those crystals combined can allow you to have extraterrestrial communication.
Well, I haven't tried it. I have worked.
Not that I'm saying try it, but you know,
well, I could.
I was reading the other day
because I have all of those crystals.
Yeah.
I've had quite, you know, experiences with crystals. Obviously, you know, I get them on a regular basis with crystals, but I've not had any apart from that one Lemurian. I've never had.
Yeah.
Or tried to. I'm not being funny.
Would you want to?
I'm not
Though?
even
That
connect to the spirit realm, yes. Connect deliberately connect to an alien, maybe.
I mean, you answered the question anyway. The second question I was going to flip with that was that would you ever want to try and use those stones in combination to try and communicate with something from further afield as such?
No. Having said that, though, so go back to the Mothman prophecies, look at how much, going back actually to the question, look how much paranormal activity and ufology that was going on, and all the synchronicities and the coincidences that were happening around that time.
Yeah, he'll tell you all about that as well.
Yeah, Josh, I'm sure you can wax lyrical about all of that.
I honestly, my thoughts on it is maybe they're just as interested in what was going on as us. And then maybe it was some sort of mutated thing. I mean, it was a military base right there that was storing all sorts of bomb materials that were just leaking into the earth.
Yeah.
Full detail. But this is what I mean. So when we talk about like the paranormal, or we talk about cryptids, it had everything, the Mothman prophecies.
Yeah.
It has everything. And the amount of times people do report, like when I was researching 30 East Drive, I really tried to see if there was a link between any UFO sightings at the time and the poltergeist activity that was happening, whether or not there was a separate report in the newspaper or something like that. I couldn't find any. But the amount of times it is reported at the same time as paranormal activity is taking place. But unfortunately, these cases don't come up very often. And if they did, it would have to be such a controlled investigation and monitor all of these factors to actually see if there is actually a link, or whether it's not, where people are jumping to assumptions again. I don't know. It's the answer.
Well, when you know what you were saying about aliens in the ether and stuff. Well, you know Stephen Greer, he's like
jumping into that topic.
Hey?
CE5 is the whole deal he does with. I honestly believe they use crystals and stuff too.
Well, they do, because they do a lot of dimensional. They do a lot of the things going out in the desert and crystals and stuff. And they've actually, I've seen some of the photos, because I've got the CE5 app. I'm on it as well. And they do the dimensional beings, and they've got some credible stuff.
Yeah.
Some very credible stuff. So what you were just saying there about the meditating or your weird hippie shit that you do with crystals, it's almost the same thing. And they've said the same. They brought out the same stuff. They use all the same stuff. And there's a school of thought as well about using hallucinogenics, but natural hallucinogenics, to open up your third eye to go into that as well. What do you make of that?
But if you go to like shaman practices, it's a rite of passage to become a shaman, is to take basically the ayahuasca, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but there's a drink they do, isn't it? And it's ayahuasca. A journey. That's the one. And it's a rite of passage within their spirituality that helps lead them through and connect with the other dimensions, the other realms, and find out how they need to work in the physical for, whatever. So, of course, it's going to have an effect. I read an account a little while ago that somebody did hallucinogenic drugs on top of a burial mound. It was in like one of the famous burial mounds, and has a snake on the top or something, and they took hallucinogenic drugs on the top of this.
I know what you want about.
I can't remember the name of it.
Monument, whatever it is, but it goes all the way around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a snake. And they did that, and they had some amazing experiences. And they wrote it all down. And the correlation between two people whose accounts that they wrote down of the experience they had was very, very similar. All right, they may have talked to each other when you look at it that way, but it's fascinating. The whole world is so interconnected in ways that we can't even fathom. And that's the key, isn't it? The understanding of the grand, what I class as the grand tapestry of how everything interweaves and how everything interconnects. And then you come to energy. When we work in the field, I work purely in a spiritual way, take crystals into the field. We had some great results.
the thing you've got to remember now, and it's one of the things I do remind people of. It's been proved that your brain operates in several different dimensions. I can't remember if it's 7 or 9, but it operates in several different dimensions. So when you're able to access and tap into those parts of the brain we don't normally use, you're actually, it's meant to do that. And whatever you're seeing or tapping into, you're meant to do that. We used to do it thousands of years ago. It was only when our DNA got altered that all those little things got shut off, and we're now starting to open them up again. So always stay open to the possibility that that's actually what you're seeing.
But back to, sorry to interrupt, what you were saying before. I actually know a bunch of channelers, Reiki doctors, magic practitioners that actually have had the same experiences with Greys and other beings too, which they are not used to.
But even Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
When you start looking at it, he went through a whole occult magical experience and ended up, yes, okay, he was
Barking.
She was like questionable.
There's something to it, though. I mean, he hung out with Ron Hubbard, and there's a whole religion based half of it.
Yeah.
See, it's actually, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is energy. And I had something really profound the other day, and it really changed my thinking. We all say that we are a spirit inhabiting a meat sack, right? The physical.
Yep.
But we're not. This is just the focus point for your energy. We know our auric field extends out a lot further. That's our spirit. That's part of us. That's not separate from us, our auric field. That's part of our whole. And all the physical is the focal point for those experiences to evolve your whole, yourself, your learning, your experiences, yourself. Sorry,
I don't think I want to evolve my whole. It does enough damage as it is. But yeah. So anybody out there in the chat room, because you've got the Crystal Lady on there now, so just give us some shtick, give us some questions. Come on, we know you want to. We know you want to. We used to do investigation. I can remember doing an investigation that was it Coalhouse Fort, where I hid behind the wall and walked out with a load of stuff and went, "Hello, Kerry," really loudly, and he went, "Ah!"
I did not.
Yes,
He tried to make me scream. No, I didn't. He tried to make me scream on every investigation, and he never managed it.
I got something for you, Kerry. When you used to do, or if you still do investigations, do you carry anything with you for protection? I always used to carry Moonstone with me.
Yes, I do obviously go investigating, and yes, I do a protection, and I have many crystals. My kit is a crystal kit. I would actually recommend Crazy Lady because you want it. Who the hell is that?
Sorry.
Picking up.
Is that your kid? That's what he takes with him for protection.
I'd like to use Crazy Lace Agate because it allows you, it puts you in a protective space and it helps bolster you, but it helps keep you open. A lot of people use a lot of dark crystals like black tourmaline or black obsidian and stuff like that. And it grounds you too much. It closes your auric field down too much. And at the end of the day, so we're going into an investigation, we want experience, right? Why would you want to shut that off? And if you use other crystals in the field and you don't allow spirit to take your own energy, they can't.
Have a look at this. Let's just come up in the chat room. See what you make of that. See if you can answer it.
I have two thoughts on that one. Really. One would be the angle that, and no disrespect, Mary, please. The angle it's written of is it's almost like she's already assumed something abnormal has happened. What has happened could be two different, or in regards to, we are a paranormal show, so let's look at it in two different ways. It could be that you had, exactly, it could be sleep paralysis. It could be an underlying illness actually caused that within you, and that's why you've had the stomach problem since. But the angle, I feel, is almost with the expectation that it may be something more nefarious. I don't know. But I would look at other options on that one before I jump to an assumption that it was anything abnormal. I would think it was more to do with the physical problems that woke you up or caused the sleep paralysis.
I would recommend Reiki, or even maybe talking to a hypnotherapist. I mean, a lot of times sleep paralysis, and if it happens constantly, can lead to somebody being abducted. I mean, we've come across that many cases on my show.
Mm. It is very disconcerting. It's incredibly disconcerting, those sleep paralysis. Have you ever experienced it, lads?
I have, actually.
And it is actually one of the most disconcerting experiences you can have. And if you have them on a regular basis, or it's the first one you've ever had, it's almost like an anxiety then becomes attached to going to that point of sleep, isn't it? It's that, I don't know, horrible.
I've had it once, and luckily I knew what it was. And it was the weirdest bloody thing. I woke up, couldn't move anything apart from my eyes, and everything was sepia. You know, old-fashioned photo sepia. Everything was that, and it was the closest way of saying it was eerie was like, do you remember when we had the total eclipse in the daytime, and everything went quiet and sort of like that? It was like that, but I can see why back in the 16th century priests were going, "Oh, Jesus, there's a thing sitting on me and wants to have its wicked way with me." They had sleep paralysis and woke up with a piss proud boner, and we're going that way, you know. And I can honestly see why they were saying, "Oh, there's a demon. Oh, there's this and that." But I think sleep paralysis can probably take you down some places you don't want to go, especially if you don't know what the hell it is, and it also if you're on medication.
Mark, do you think it has anything to do with what you saw with your mom as a child?
I don't know. I've had a few people talk to me about this, and I've actually wanted to be regressed to see what the missing time was. But my only problem with regression is if you've already got a thing in your head that this might have happened or that has happened, is that what comes up, come out? So I don't know. I asked my mum about it again the other day if she could remember any more, and she said exactly the same thing. She remembers looking out the window of it with me when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and then we remember seeing the door open. And then the door was closed, and then it was gone. But there was like 3 or 4 hours had gone, or whatever the hell it was. It was something stupid. But none of us couldn't tell you what the fuck happened. You know, no idea. But as I say, if you got regressed, would that bring out what's already in the back of your head?
It's a difficult one to answer, isn't it?
I said it depends too. If you get Reiki, a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, I saw a grave. Do you know what that's about?"
Yeah. It is weird how it interlinks. But I think psychology does have an awful lot to do with things. And I think the just sometimes a self-honesty. Like you go out on an investigation or a Skywatch or whatever like that, and then something happens and your adrenaline peaks straight away. And that causes so many physiological things and that fires off so many little neurons going on in your brain. And you're in usually a dark, cold place. So physiologically, you're reacting to that anyway. And we know there's all that goes on. I just think you have to be very honest about that. If you're, doing it for, as a case study, I think you have to be very aware of that. If you're in a public investigation, just enjoy the night.
Definitely, I think you need to come on an investigation.
Unless of course we end up finishing early.
You are.
Unless we end up finishing early on a public event. The other Saturday at Colchester Castle.
We didn't. The castle got the time wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
We should have started at 7, but the castle put it at 8, which obviously then put the programme an hour out. Yeah. So it wasn't like the organiser, it was the castle.
No. Yeah, I know who was responsible for that. But it was a little bit upsetting, really, because we wanted to go back down into the vault again, and they'd locked it all up. And we're like, no! Everybody else had gone back into the chapel, and we wanted to go into the vault, and they'd locked it all up. What can you do? But I mean, at that point, the adrenaline was going because we were in the vaults last. And like you say, when something happens, that sort of thing kicks in and the adrenaline starts, and you're like, we need more of this. And then, unfortunately, when you get like the staff come down and go, right, time's up, you've got to go now. And you're like, oh, seriously, we just started getting things happen. And you've got to come away and go somewhere else. And then you've got to hope that something will happen there for that adrenaline to keep going. It's like that next fix.
Yeah.
And it sometimes that doesn't happen that way. And we had that Saturday night. We'd gone from one room into another and nothing had happened in the second room. So we were like a bit disappointed because by that time the adrenaline had calmed down and we were sort of coming down from that. And then all of a sudden it peaked up again and we're like, oh, well, it's kicking off again. But yeah, I think
investigations are like that anyway, though.
Yeah.
I think you just like we talked about, on the show, when I was with Mark, we would go through like different types of investigations, your own expectation about a location. Because that's the other thing, right? I found this. When I was looking at, people used to say to me, where do you want to investigate? And people would come at far-flung places. And I'd be like, no, actually, it's the smaller, more intimate ones that I'd be interested in. You know what I mean? Rather than, the big out or whatever. It's a smaller, intimate one that I enjoy because you can control the environment a lot more and get an understanding. But it's great to introduce people who have paid for a public investigation to an experience that you love.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere going to be the same as if you do a small team investigation. It's not going to be possible. All the evidence in a public investigation is going to be questionable.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's going to be.
Oh, you're right.
Whereas if you're in a little intimate team, you can control the factors and record what you need to record to try and bolster your evidence. That's what you need to do. That's why you write the logs and you do your EVPs, but mark if your tummy's gone or whatever. So you can bolster what evidence you do get, because you can say, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do the other? Yes, I did. Well, that makes it more interesting. It makes what you've captured there more interesting if you've covered all the skeptical positions before you present evidence. And that's small team stuff. You're not going to be able to do that on a public. And that's about managing expectation, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is, I think, is probably the biggest issue when you do a public event is when you've got so many people there and, they've paid to join your team to go out into the location. They're all there on the understanding they're going to get something.
No, they're on their
hope. And then they get disappointed when nothing happens.
No, because I've never seen any investigation advertised as you are guaranteed to see a ghost.
Oh, no. What I mean is the people arrive, they've already, it's like the power of suggestion. The thought is put in their head. They're going to a haunted location and they're excited to see a ghost. So and then they get in there and then they're putting their teams, they go off out into the area and nothing happens. And then all of a sudden they'll come back after the break and they go, well, nothing happened in there. I was a bit disappointed for that.
So there's two factors there, though. There's psychological priming because they're going to a haunted location and they've booked up for a paranormal event. So you've got a bit of psychological priming going on, but then you've also got expectation. So where does expectation comes from? Most people I know would go in hoping to have an experience, but not expect to see one.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said to people, don't expect it because they're not performing seals. It's not going to happen. Sometimes you can come here and all hell will break loose. Other times, nothing will happen.
And every public that I've been onto, that has always been stated.
Yeah.
Always been stated. Now, if they've come, if a person who's booked has literally come off the sofa from watching all the television programs, then yes, their expectation is something's going to happen every 5 minutes, right?
But you get that with a lot of public events. You get that.
Yeah.
You know yourself, you've been on plenty of investigations where the only thing you'll catch is a cold.
Oh God, yeah. The bone cold as well. It's not even like
Oh God, yeah.
just a little bit cold. It is like literally you could have millions of layers on 20 thermals and still be bone cold.
Like the one
We've
in
got
Longchurch that we all
Oliver's
went to.
Mountain. We've got Oliver's Mountain. It's where I do the UFO watches, and I'm hoping to do one soon because we've been getting the Aurora Borealis coming down as well, and I'm hoping to do another one up there soon with no bloody clouds, and we can get that and hopefully get some stuff. But even up there, sat in the car with the heating on you, and you're in there thinking, why the hell am I doing this?
So you're gonna do like a CE5 up there?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'm thinking about it because I tried to do one last year, didn't I? Live on the show. And
I
then
think so.
about half an hour, I looked out the window, cloud fog, and I was just like, "Fuck you," you know. So
And you had all these dodgy adults going up there for somewhere to go.
Oh no, that's the other car park. There's two places where I was going to do it, and then I found out that the second car park, which is on part of the Wolds Triangle, where all the dogmen sightings and this, that, and the other have been going down over the centuries. Turns out this car park by Staxton Wold RAF base is actually a dogging car park. Do you remember when we went to Cash's Well? Do you remember when we went to Cash's Well? We pulled up in that fucking car park, and there was that sweaty fat bloke hanging out of a Peugeot 207 going, "Huh," because he saw us turn up in the car, and they were doggers waiting for other doggers to turn up, and we were just like, "Oh God, no!" Do you remember that?
Do you remember Hockley Woods?
Like,
Do you not remember Hockley Woods?
hey?
Do you not remember Hockley Woods? When we drove into the car park and the police van followed us, and then as we got out, cleaning up, as you do for a walk in the woods with your kit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all these coppers got out and were running around the car park, like doing it on these other cars. And they come up to us like, "What you doing?" It was like, "Oh, we're actually just going to go for a paranormal investigation in the woods." They were like, "All right, you can go." And we were all like kitted up with rucksacks and stuff like that.
Epping Forest, when the nutter was going about who just escaped from prison with no shoes on in the middle of winter. We were taking people all the way through Epping Forest up to the church where Alistair Crowley came through, where the blood rites used to be done. Then there's the hill where the hanging tree is, and then we were going down to where I won't mention names, but where certain London firms from back along used to use it as a dumping ground, and we're doing all that, and then the local forestry copper comes up and he's like, "Be careful when you're out there. There's some nutter who's escaped from prison. He's out there with no shoes on in the middle of winter," and we're like, "Thanks," you know. So yeah, yes, that.
Like, okay, time to go. Hilarious.
We're gonna have to come on an investigation. We're gonna have to, because I was talking to David Young the other day on his show, and he said we're going to have to do an investigation. So when we do, you're down on Canby Island, Kerry. So if we'll be down that way because I go see Wayne and that. You've never met Rachel, so we're going to have to do something. Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
yeah.
we always do.
I've got to pop down that way.
We normally end up just getting drunk, Mark. Let's be fair.
this is very bloody true.
We have these plans, and then he comes round, and then we start nattering, and obviously we have a little drink.
No, Mary.
A little drink ends to a big drink, and then we end up just talking a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And
we put the world to rights about the UFO with the when Carl was there, and you were dancing for Carl.
Oh God, that night that was hilarious.
And Daisy and everything, and then you just wake because it was such a long drive, which to stay over. Kerry put us up. And we just wake up next morning and then there'd be Kerry going, "You drank all my Jack Daniels," you know.
He did. All of it. Like 2 bottles. He drank his way through that in one night. Anyway, good times those were. Good times. Long ago.
So what do you think of how the show is now? How it's changed over the years, and from what it was when we were doing it to what do you think of it now?
You know what? When I decided to walk away from the radio station and separate myself from that, and you carried on, I was so proud of you.
Really?
Yeah, I was so proud that you didn't just go, "Oh, sod it then," that you actually went and took ownership of it, and you took it in the direction that you wanted to, and I'm so proud of you for that, because it's easy to, when somebody else makes a decision that doesn't align with what it's easy to give up. It's easy to just dismiss it. But you didn't. You took ownership of it, and you said, "No, I still want to carry on. I still want to do it." And you did, and you've got a great relationship with these guys going forward, and you can talk aliens as much as you like without me going, oh my God, not another bloody alien. Do you know what I mean? So it lends itself more to your energy, and actually I'm really proud of you. I think you've done amazingly well.
Thank you. Okay. So yeah, that's nice to hear. It's, to be honest, we've had in it, it's just been like Wayne will tell you, the last year, I think it's year and a half, it's suddenly
it's a year and a half to 2 years already.
Yeah, it's just started to go, and now we're global, and it's like, what the hell happened? And we've got people all over the world watching us. It's normally by the end of the week you'll see we've had like loads and loads of people watching, and we get messages coming like sometimes from Brazil and America, and then we get Josh and his beard come on, and we get all this stuff, and it's like it was before. You have to put the comedy in. You've got to have a laugh and a joke, and you've got to be friends. If you're not friends, it shows.
And we've even had the Bobberment interfere with our lives as well.
That's our accolade. We have the Bobberment switch off all our comments and we've had 2 shows where they've done it, where we've been talking about certain conspiracy theories. If we say the GOVER word, that's when it kicks off the algorithms, and they start listening. Bobberment.
I don't like it. So you have to talk in code all the time these days.
Well, they've cut off all our comments, all the chat room, wasn't it? And then one of the other shows, they did the same thing again, and then they cut the show off, and we had to come back, and they cut that off, and we had to come back again. Yeah. Because we
no reason as to why it got cut. We looked everywhere for it, and we just could not find out why the comments got switched off.
Well, we were expecting
we'll just have to use code words instead.
Yeah, we just won't set off the algorithms.
Yeah.
But then you see, whenever you deal with ufology world, going back to some of the things that Mark would send me, he used to send me links and I'd look into it and that sort of thing. But they were always talking about problems with communications and getting the word out and stuff like that. And I used to think sometimes, are they just making stuff up to make it more notorious? But then something like that happens to a little, a little internet show, and you think maybe something is going on. I don't know.
I've got something for you, because as Wayne and I know, everything that we've spoken about, especially Wayne and I, over the last 5 years, and we've said this on several shows, it's happened. All the stuff and it's the only reason we've said it is because of the research that we do. No, we're not psychics or any shit like that. It's just we do lots of research. I do, especially because I love all that crap. And it's like Josh and Wayne, when you go down the rabbit holes, it's fascinating, But all the stuff that we've ever said is going to happen, or they're going to start saying, and this, that, and the other, has happened. We said about the impulse engine, happened. We said about the warp engine, happened. We said about disclosure starting to come out, and the government starting to slowly drip feed it. And then we happened. We said that the American government and the British government would start to come out and say, yeah, actually they're here, but we can't say anymore. Fucking happened, and it's like, what? And 2027, isn't it? 2027 is supposed to be. That's supposed to be the time when everything's come out in the open, and we're supposed to know everything because something's coming, something's happening, but we don't know what. What do you reckon?
Like I said, there's no way my government's going to come up with everything.
No,
it's all. I think there's a lot of war crimes. Geneva code's been crossed.
See, in my head, all I've got is Independence Day crossed with The Walking Dead.
Welcome to work.
We end up like it will start like Independence Day, wipe a shitloads of people out, and then whoever's left will be like marauding, like they do in the Walking Dead. That's how I see this playing out. It terrifies me. I don't know enough in regard to conspiracy, ufology, and the government and things that are supposed to happen. And I think you can call some of the government's narratives because it's the most logical political thing to say. So I do think you do have to be careful about, again, jump into assumptions. I do think what they release is so redacted that it's easy to jump to assumptions of what they want you to say, because it's to the populace, to the majority. You do realise how batshit crazy all of this sounds.
Oh yeah.
So if you're talking about it,
yeah, but
the majority.
sorry to interrupt though, but the CIA actually came up with the word conspiracy theory to cover up the John Kennedy assassination. So I mean, they want this to sound batshit crazy because they want to get away with shit.
Because the more crazy it sounds, the more unbelievable it is. It's like, right, even taking it down to, you have a really extreme personal spiritual experience, and you talk about that with one of your normal everyday co-workers at work. You sound crazy.
Oh, they stopped talking to me a long time ago.
Don't talk about it, but then when you put in a forum like this, you kind of like, you're able to be open about those experiences and not have them dismissed. Yes, we will look at alternative possibilities to the one that we can't jump assumptions to, but we still go, okay, so that's a really interesting thing. It's an experience you've had. There could be several possibilities, but we would need more information to be able to judge which direction it goes in. And I think the problem is we've got so many, particularly with computers, you can always find
There you go.
Oh, what are you doing, Helen?
So
Has he farted? You farted again, didn't you?
No. Swear to God, I'm innocent this time.
Last show we did, he farted and she nearly vomited.
No. A coffee cup, which was cracked
She
and
did
and she,
exactly that. Fucked up going,
no, she necked the whole cup of coffee, and all I could hear was her going, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what? I've looked at my cup, probably halfway down mine.
Oh, bless her.
I'm sorry, Kerry.
Anyway, carry on before we were rudely interrupted.
I think I made my point. I just find it difficult to marry all of the information because there's so much missing. And so what's coming, who knows? Is there full disclosure? I think as long as I've been in this field, there's been talk of full disclosure coming in the next 2 or 3 years, and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah. I mean, the American government has released some documentation, but unfortunately, like we say, it's been heavily
redacted.
It's been blacked out. There's only been certain bits of information they want to give you. But I think one of the best parts is that although the American government has been redacting stuff, people like the French government, the Danish government, and now the Chinese government have been releasing information, and now the Italians. They've been releasing information that hasn't been redacted. So eventually we're going to get to a stage where other governments are going to have no choice. And that will include the American government.
We have some gems too, but the CIA likes putting it on their website on a PDF file. The whole sleep soldier program, the psychic warfare, the finding targets.
I got one for you. Because we'll have to wrap it up soon. But we all know that there is actually a Space Force out there. It's been proved there is a Space Force out there. That we've had the ships for a while. However, what do you make of these people that come out and say that they were these super soldiers? They were trained. They were sent to different planets to go and help in wars, and then they were brought back, had their minds wiped, and then sent back in time 20 years before it happened, so they forgot all about it, and then all of a sudden they just started remembering stuff when they went to the toilet and had a poop, and it just kicked things off.
No,
I don't know. I mean, I have actually interviewed a couple, and some of the stuff they say is pretty terrifying, and it makes sense. And I don't want to judge every book by its cover, but I mean, a lot of the stuff they say does kind of correlate. I actually have one coming on very soon. It's highly psychic.
I think some have got a credence of credibility to them, but then there's some. Oh, I don't want to be rude.
The thing is, though, when you look at the likes of Project Blue Book, where the agents were sent out to manipulate the people that swore blind they had seen something.
And we've got Blue Beam supposed to be coming as well.
And then eventually those people who were confronted by these agents all of a sudden changed their tune or said nothing at all. So who's to say that these guys that are saying they were from Space Force weren't manipulated in the same way?
It's so complicated.
It does.
The other thing too.
Think about it logically.
The other thing
what
too.
you're talking about would take so much. That would take so much. So many people, so much involvement. There'd be so many work bits that they would need. Even they would no.
But that's why they said that's why Project Blue Book came along. Because it was only a small team of people, but they were responsible for going around and getting people to change their statements on purpose.
A small group of people was able to build spaceships and train up people to go to Mars in the first place.
Well, it started with Majestic.
Hold on, get to Mars, build a whole base. Because there's a war going on up there. You're not talking a couple of people. You're talking about an extended amount of people.
Yeah,
So
no, but what I'm saying,
I mean, they have their whole things too, where they all meet up every year, and it's pretty big.
what I'm saying is the people that have come back are being manipulated. So could they have been just normal people that are being manipulated to say these things about Space Force on purpose? Because we've been saying for years now that the governments of the world have been drip feeding us things to try and get us into that way of thinking. Could that just be another drip
I don't know. I honestly don't know. When you're talking about Space Force, are you also referring to the Secret Soldier program? Because that's what I'm referring to.
That's what I'm
that's
referring
what I
to.
thought we were talking to. It was the secret. The Mars.
Another thing to bring up that's completely off topic, though, is recently there was a UFC fighter from Cuba who nobody could knock out. And it turns out that the military did something to him as a child.
Right,
And
right.
they found records of this. He has never been knocked unconscious. Dudes have broken their fists with gloves on hitting him. And I don't know, it makes me believe a lot more.
Bone density is completely different.
A lot of steroids.
No, it wasn't.
It's in his head.
know exactly.
It's in his skull.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a bit like Wolverine, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then I go back to something like if you went back in time, not literally, but if you went back, they would do bare knuckle fighting.
They still have that, actually.
Right.
And
But
they
I'm
used to
going
fight like
back
that.
before they had protections and stuff like that and the health and safety, like underground stuff. You'd have people that you could never knock out. They'd be notorious for it.
What I know what Josh is on about.
Dana White, the owner of
Well,
UFC, looked into this, and they found records leading back to Fidel Castro and this child. There's actually military documents of him being experimented on before he was brought into America.
To be
we
fair,
know a
I
lot
don't
of that
know
went
the
on.
case- I don't know about the case that you're talking
Yeah.
about. I've not come across that one in my travels. But all I can I don't know because I haven't researched that. All of it's very compelling. All of it is very compelling when you're listening one-on-one to somebody and they are convinced. But you know as well as I do that if you believe the lie, you can pass a lie detector test. If you
Here's the
believe
thing, though. Every one of them I've interviewed has carried some sort of really deep sadness and just been really distraught about the experience. And it's not like they're like, I want to get famous. It's more like, I want to be heard so I don't feel I'm fucking crazy.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I agree with
Like
that.
I say, you know, when you talk to people, and I've talked to a lot of people in the field, you just have to listen to their story without judgment and just ask questions. I mean, the thing is about validating, isn't it? You do an interview, you validate it, you research it. They don't miss a trick. Their story stays the same. You know, when you start looking at other collaborating information, it starts validating it. You kind of do go, I don't know what to think or feel about this, because it becomes with something like that. It's so out of your frame of reference, your own personal frame of reference. And because it's not happened to you personally, all you can do is listen without judgment, try to find validating information, and just allow somebody to have that space.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is a Space Force out there, but I don't think there's been this massive battle in space. You know, I just think there are a lot of people ready to go up into space if need be in that scenario. But I don't think there's been this big battle in space because there's too many people watching. There's too many people out there with telescopes and being able to look out into the skies and into space at night. You'd be able to see these things taking place, especially if your telescope's powerful enough.
That would be hilarious.
What if they're not taking place in our galaxy?
Or they've decided, as part of this war, because each war, you know, like even when we had wars, we had certain things we weren't going to do to each other. Maybe it's all on the dark side of the moon, so that's why we don't see it, because they're hiding it. I don't know. It's also weird, though. I do find the whole thing very strange.
There's also, can you shut up? There's also you know, the Nazca lines, because I think come back on another show, Kerry. We'll bring you back on again, and we'll continue talking about this. If you want to come back on again, there is the Nazca lines you've heard of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is that?
In the Nazca lines is supposedly underground bases that are thousands of years old and have got technology in there from the people before us, the precursors. And this is stuff that I've again researched. And this technology that's down there has got, like, allegedly, there's supposed to be this wormhole technology you go through and you end up on these bases, on these other places where these things are supposed to have happened. Now, ordinarily, I'd have thought, nah, what are you on about? But when I've read that, watched it, seen the interviews, and then it's corroborated other people who are bugger all to do with anything of this, it's that I go, oh, there's got to be something there. Like the super soldier. Some of them I think, nah, mate. But some of them do come across as credible, and they've never been, from the ones that I've read and, you know, looked into, some of them have never had anything to do with each other. They don't know anything about each other, yet their stuff and some of their timelines cross, and it makes it interesting.
The thing is, though, super soldiers is nothing new, because the Nazi Party did experiment during World War II.
Have you played Wolfenstein?
The average soldier.
I mean, even just look at what they did. I mean, mixing astrology, I mean, cultism. They literally were in every aspect of paranormal. I mean, they were, who knows? I mean, and then we had Operation Paperclip. And they're like, you guys seem to be onto something. Maybe, you know, come over here.
Well, you had the likes of Dr. Mengele, who experimented on twins. You had, I can't remember his name now, but there was another German doctor who was doing experiments on altitude tests. And he was saying
He was putting prisoners into chambers to replicate what the temperature would be and the pressure would be at 15 and 20,000 feet up, to see whether the human body could withstand those sort of conditions. So we know that human experimentation had been going back quite a long way, and who's to say that some of those doctors, we know a lot of German Nazi officials ended up in South America. So who's to say that the experiments didn't carry on? So right, I think we end that there, because it is time, gentlemen and ladies. Would you like to come back on again, Kerry?
Of course. Always interesting talking to you guys.
We will continue this again.
Although, tell me which angles you're going down. At least I can have a look at the cases you're talking about, because a couple of these I'm sitting thinking,
what?
I've not really looked into that.
Well, the thing with the show is we don't have, like before with you guys, you used to have a set thing. We don't, and we found it's the best format. We don't. We just talk about everything.
We do start off with a subject. We do actually start off with a subject, but you can guarantee after 5-10 minutes we've gone completely off the subject, and then eventually we come back to it. So it goes full circle, but it's a bit of a wobbly circle. It just goes all over the shop.
But yeah, if you'll have me back, I'd love to.
Yeah, no problem. Josh, thank you for joining us. Kerry, lovely to see you again. Come back again. Wayne, as per usual, I will talk to you later anyway, mate. Everybody in the chat room and on all these different flipping formats that we go out on. We're now on Twitter, Instagram, everything. So everybody's been watching us live. The Things Network, the Spooky Network, everything. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Oh, and YouTube as well. And we will see you again next Monday. We will have another guest on next Monday. Not going to say who, but we are doing a pre-record this week with him. So, are you free on Thursday, Josh?
Oh, absolutely. What time? We'll
Right,
figure that out off a camera.
Yeah.
Being over the pond.
We'll sort that out. But yeah, so we got to do that, and we'll have another guest, and we're going to try and start to have a few more guests on this year, and hopefully going to do a few more UFO watches. Josh, if you want to do anything like that across your side of the pond, set it up, and we can do the show and everything with you on your side. Same with Wayne and everybody else. So we've got things, and we've got things in the pipeline for the Dark Mirror as well. We even have a website now, so I need to go on there and update it. But yeah, so thank you for joining us, everybody in chat room, everywhere else. We will be back next Monday, 9:30, as per usual. Remember, if you got any questions, send them to any of us on Facebook Messenger or the Dark Mirror radio show at yahoo.com. Email us there or go to the Dark Mirror show.co.uk. We're on there. There's a link that goes straight to our WhatsApps as well. So you can always send us a message. So until then, we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us again, Kerry. And you never know, next time Kerry comes back on, she might have taken a breath and stopped talking. So until then, we will see you all later. Oh, yeah, and aliens! See you later, guys. Bye-bye, everybody. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.